The last month has been a roller coaster.
It's been a ride.
A whirlwind.
Bittersweet.
The past month has definitely had some ups and downs.
This virus has the most effect on the world since I've been alive.
Nothing in my 20-some years of staying home with children, even when I had 10 children at home all at once, would have prepared me for this time.
This is going to shift every experience for the foreseeable future.
Working from home, schooling from home, and doing all of that.
I realized the other day that, I haven't been touched by a human in 5 weeks.
This is just tough stuff.
We're in week 6, and I think week 1, I thought it was going to be the worst week. And, boy, was I wrong.
Week 1, I was scared. I could not sleep. I could not eat. I was having panic attacks.
Panic and anxiety.
Low-grade chronic anxiety all the time.
It's caused me a lot of anxiety.
A lot of self-doubt, a lot of uncertainty.
It was bad. It was a really bad situation, and there was a lot of fear built up in my body because we didn't know what this was going to be.
I think I, in the past, have relied on planning my future as a way of de-stressing, and I can't see through the fog to know what the future brings.
Because it feels impossible to know how long it's going to last and what the world is going to look like when this is over.
Personally, I'm trying to build towards something, and there's a fear that there is nothing to build towards.
And I felt like, I had some momentum, and I kind of had a plan for, at what point in this contract I would start looking for the next thing. But I don't know what that's going to look like at all.
It's helped that we have some work to do now. However, that will run out very, very quickly since we cannot all be together. I don't know if we will be furloughed and if I will have a job in May.
So they determined salary cuts from the top down. In my particular department, it was determined we would be furloughed 1 week out of every 5. Due to the adjustments that have been made in the unemployment, there is a provision for people that have to be off because of school closures and daycare closures, which I would fall under that. So I'm hoping that I can work with my employer and we can work out those details so I can be off through the end of May to get my kids through the end of school.
I just don't know. I don't know. That's the phrase that I use the most. I just don't know what anything is going to be. But I'm worried for my family and my friends.
I think about essential workers that still are going to grocery stores, going to hospitals, going to clinics, going to childcare situations. I can't imagine being in that situation because I think I would just be overcome with anxiety.
You think for what can I do? I'm not a doctor, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a scientist. How do I help? So I decided to make videos to make people laugh for a little while, to get their mind off things, because I know my mind is racing about all this stuff.
All of my family is in New York City. Some of them work in medicine. My cousin is on the front lines. He's a nurse. He's, training other nurses who are used to working with orthopedic surgeons and with patients who have just had, hip replacements and are now having to deal with this infectious disease situation. And he's working in another hospital on morgue duty. It's terrifying.
It's interesting having a brother who's really on the front lines of fighting the virus. He's been a big inspiration to me, watching him sort of give up sort of the comfort of his family and his house, and come up with all these creative ways to see his kids, who are 3 and 7. They haven't been able to hug their dad in over a month. And his wife's going through chemo and he can't be by her side.
Just how much bad news is in the world, especially about New York. It's a lot of reassurance to my family and friends who don't live here in New York with me, telling them I'm safe, telling them I'm okay. But it's, been tough emotionally.
You're on a staircase, but you don't realize you're on a staircase, and you take a tumble down when something bad happens. And it's like, it's one of those big things that would really shake you, that makes you take that tumble. And I've already had a couple of those in my life. I've gone through some form of tragedy, every few years or so. And every time I take another stumble down a stair, I do feel like a part of me has kind of shut off a little bit of glimmer or a little bit of glow that I had the privilege of having without ever really going through suffering before. And this is one of those moments where I've emotionally tumbled down a stair, and I'll get back up and keep walking again. But there's an extra weight there now. There's a pressure, a sadness. Yeah.
For me, it's been even harder to connect. Like, I feel somehow through my phone, it just feels more empty. I feel myself longing more for personal interaction. I just want to throw my phone across the room and, have a real person in front of me. I watched a TV show the other day, and the lady was talking to a cab driver, and I started crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, I miss random conversations with people, random connections. So I think I was sort of cavalier about, oh, you're gonna spend a lot of time alone and you gotta learn to take your time, and actually it's more complicated than that. Because, like the whole world is on pause.
I was a stay-at-home mom for over 20 years, and nothing in that time of being a stay-at-home mom prepared me for trying to work from home as well as do virtual school with my kids at home. And so my low point really became very apparent to me on Good Friday, because I had the time that I could really pay attention to the children, what they were doing at school, what they needed from school, what they needed from me to be successful at school. And it became very clear to me that they were floundering. They needed me. I wasn't available to them. In that also became clear that my work was suffering because I was trying to divide my attention between helping the kids and doing a good job at work. The low point was definitely that realization that I can't do it all. I'm not Superwoman. That working and trying to help the kids just wasn't going well. And I realized that something was going to have to change. Something was going to have to give.
A low point for me, the sort of ongoing malaise of fear has been creeping in. And one of the reasons why it's been creeping in heavier is I feel as though if I don't do my job right, people, their businesses will suffer, or a company will fail, or people will lose their jobs. So many people have lost their jobs already, and the few of us that remain, it feels as though we are so lucky and kind of like, knowing that you're not one of the ones who's gotten sick, you are that much more terrified of becoming unlucky. And I think a low point for me is both being afraid of losing my privileged position, as well as being so scared of letting other people down.
There's a fear that the people in power aren't handling this right and they're gonna fail.
Yeah, I think my outlook has gotten grimmer, actually, because I just see the country in divided over this issue that seems like it shouldn't be a political issue.
I just, and the problem is I feel is older generations telling us like things aren't an option. Those solutions, we can't provide healthcare for everyone. We can't provide housing for everyone. We can't provide basic resources for everybody. I mean, I thought we were a civilized society. I thought we were able to take care of our weak.
I hate the way that this is being used as, political football in a lot of ways.
I don't know the right course of action. I'm just trying to do what I think is right, which is staying in and staying safe in that way.
I have gotten to a point where going outside gives me a lot of anxiety. I don't like going to the store. I don't like going to the gas station. I have developed a pretty serious anxiety about going out into the world. And I feel safe in my home, but I get very anxious and uneasy when I leave my home for any reason.
Specific thought is like when I walk into a store and I see people kind of filling up their carts and empty shelves. I have like that need to when am I coming back to the store? Is it going to have everything I need? What's going to happen? So I want to grab and go everything, but I think that causes more problems. So that it's difficult to handle that, to handle your fear in a logical way so you can then be the adult to yourself, to your kid brain who's freaking out.
I'm starting to accept my anxiety as a normal response to an extraordinary situation. It's not something to work through. I mean, it is something to work through, but it's not something to sort of pathologize as oh no, anxiety is bad. Oh, cortisol. Oh, stress. It's well, stress exists to help us survive, and we're having normal reactions because our survival is being threatened, and that is manifesting in our bodies and in my body. So it's taken the last month to sort of get used to that and accept it as something not just normal, but also maybe even healthy, which is helping me sleep better and eat better and make my way through the day with a little more assurance. All I can do is try to stay as functional as I can and find my small moments of happiness however I can within it.
The slow nature of my day has been nice. I am anxious about certain things, but my general anxiety is less. I'm gardening. I spend quite a lot of time gardening and reading and writing and listening to birds. I've been very fascinated with birds lately. So those sorts of things have been uplifting for me.
Time to concentrate on ourselves, time to concentrate on our health and well-being and being healthy in many ways. Because yes, you want to be healthy physically, but mental health is a lot of time for solidarity, a lot of time for reflection, a lot of time for perspective analysis.
I feel closer to myself than I have felt in a really long time. And that to me has been a tremendous gift in this horrible situation. I feel as though I've discovered strengths and weaknesses that I didn't necessarily know that I had. So the journey of self-discovery that this quarantine has brought has been really wonderful.
The overall way that I've been very centered throughout this whole thing. I can't say I've been freaking out much. I'd say I've been freaking out adequately, as anybody should be freaking out during this. I feel peace, generally. Mostly I feel peace.
And we're still in this place of unknowingness, especially going into the next few months. But we've kind of weathered that storm just a little bit, and there has been a great sense of clarity. I know what I want to do with my art now.
In my world, a lot of people in my world know what I do as an actor, creator, artist, but sometimes you don't have control of your content, so I don't put out a lot. So I think a high point for me has been putting out content on a regular basis and getting the reaction from people who appreciate it. And a lot of it's strangers, which I think is funny. But yeah, they're like, they think it's cool, they think it's fun, they laugh, they send me emojis. That's cool, I like that.
What I'm doing is I'm building, content, stories, performances, interviews, content that will be essential, especially for an upcoming event for this company that I work for. And the real high for me has been that I got to make actual fun artistic projects for the first time in a long time. The most recent project is I made a music video for a musical of a cast about 15 people. And that musical got canceled because of all of this. And it was going to be, I think, one of a kind of show, because it was cast locally and it was going to be on one of the bigger stages in the Bay Area. And this cast has a lot of heart and a lot of genuine talent and just genuineness. Like, they're really, really good people. And they showed up more than I've ever seen before to be part of an art project that is so hamstrung by the fact that we can't be in the same room together. And yet that process has been incredibly rewarding and terrifying, if I'm being honest, but really exciting. And that has been a true joy, like a real joy.
I've been really, really lifted up by my coworkers, by the production team that I'm working with right now. We have a daily meeting where the production supervisor kind of checks in with everyone. There are over 100 of us on this Google Hangout, so people have gotten really creative. One coworker got onto the call, and we could see on the video that his child was cutting his hair at the beginning of the meeting, which was amazing to watch. And another coworker was playing a game, I guess we would call it, with her partner, who had a blindfold on and was putting makeup on her. It was very entertaining, makeup all over her face. So people are having fun with it. We'll come onto meetings wearing, silly costumes and hats and stuff.
So this isn't really uplifting, or I don't know what it is. It's just a weird thing that is new to me. It's new to me. I do not look 21. But when I wear a mask to the grocery store and I buy alcohol, which is frequent, I get carded every time, and then I get a double take, and then I am asked to remove my mask because I have young eyes and very small hands. And no one believes that I am 32 years old. They think that I'm a minor. So, that's uplifting for me. At least I don't have old ass eyes. I don't know.
I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm fostering a cat for company. So I'm gonna go get him because it'd be really cute if he was in this chat. After about 2 weeks in self-isolation, I was just going absolutely bonkers and I needed company. And so I signed up to be a foster kitty mom. And so this little dude we're keeping each other company. He's so sweet.
I will say this one thing. that I had to celebrate my birthday, my 25th, my quarter of a century, where I had been planning, well, not like really planning, but in my head, I was planning this like big party for a while, for some time now. And once stuff started locking down, I just couldn't do that. And I had this very small, intimate, like Zoom birthday with a few friends. And it was one of the best birthdays, despite the circumstances. But, like one of the best birthdays because I just felt like everyone was present. Everyone was alone, but together. And like people wanted to be at my party because, what else do you have to do? And that was really beautiful. It was beautiful to just like have this genuine connection with people that you love and everyone feel present. That was truly remarkable.
Every day it kind of has become a custom where we were listening to the governor's announcements, especially when things were changing so much. We were waiting to see what was changing. And I remember the moment when she said school would now be suspended for the remainder of the year, which for us means the end of May. It hits especially hard when you have a senior in high school. And for my particular senior, she's a very awarded track runner, and her big passion is softball. So a lot of things have been on hold. Last weekend, for example, was supposed to be our version of prom. We call it junior senior banquet, and Drake relays, which she would have been a 4-time runner in, and her 18th birthday. Well, suddenly there's no prom. Suddenly there's no Drake relays. Once I heard that school was canceled, I quickly put into place some things to make her 18th birthday extra special. Her best friend showed up. We got her dressed up as she would have for prom, had flowers and everything. Sent them on a scavenger hunt across country around in the area, kind of visiting some of the places that have been important in her life. And then when she arrived back home, there was a drive-by celebration with friends, including our local heroes, our police team, the biggest radio announcer that has announced her in all of her sports, teachers, principal from the school, friends, and all of that. They did a drive-by, and we definitely celebrated her birthday. It doesn't make up for what she is losing in her senior year, but hopefully it at least made it memorable for her.
So my sister-in-law is going through chemo in Seattle, and my brother, her husband, is an emergency room doctor. And so for the last, 2 months or so, they've had to be in separate homes because it's not safe for him to be around her because she's immunosuppressed and he could be a carrier. And so recently she went in for one of her chemo treatments, and he called her to, she thought, oh, he's calling me just to wish me luck or check in or whatever, as her chemo treatments take about 3 hours. And he said, look out the window. And she looked out the window of the clinic where she was getting her treatment, and he was standing in the parking lot. And he came to sit with her while she got her chemo. And so he sat in the car in the parking lot outside her window, and they talked on the phone the whole time.
Uplifting stories of this time have been seeing New York come together, not physically, but come together as a community. At 7 o'clock every night, there is the thank you hour for our frontline workers, and it's amazing to see people all over New York and around the world. I've been seeing it as well, but here in New York, people are cheering and clapping and thanking the helpers at the front line. And that is something I hope the world can come out of this experience with, which is more kindness and more gratitude.
So I hope that this support and gratitude and love for one another continues after we get out of this horribly troubling situation. So I'm seeing so much good in humanity as a result of this pandemic.
From destruction is creation, and with this destruction, with this plague that is on top of us, there will be a perspective change, and I hope that it is towards community and well-being and safety and empathy.
Okay. That's it.
Okay.
Anyway, I hope this helps.
Okay, talk to you later.
All right. Be good out there.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
This is quarantine. There are no rules, except that there are all of the rules. Wear a mask. Get out of the picture.